Okay, there was also a question about how to make some custom shapes, maybe like an arrow for some sort of direction for your two-page spread. So you can come down here to typically it defaults at this custom shape tool. It looks like little Patrick from SpongeBob, which I'm not a big fan of, but it comes up here and you have this whole menu of for this custom shape. So first of all, we can go down and look for a particular custom shape, and usually it's kind of, you don't see that many, but you can drag it down and see a shape that you might want. Or if it's not there, you can click on this little gear and go down to, and it's categorized by different subject matter. So I'm just going to do arrows, and I'm going to hit OK. So that's going to get rid of everything. Oops, didn't want to do that. Just have arrows here. So let's say that I wanted this arrow here. It's kind of a dynamic arrow. And I have three different choices over here. I have a shape, path, and pixels. And for a very beginning, I would just say the shape, unless you're really going to be able to manipulate things and you know what the pen tool does. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then just stick with the shape. So I can do a fill and I can do a stroke, and I'm just going to leave that right where it is right now. And all I do is left click and drag, and I get this arrow. Now I can manipulate this right and left. I can flip it over right now, make it bigger or smaller. If I want to hold the shift key down, then it just makes it bigger and keeps the proportion. Just like any other tool there, if you hold the shift key down, it draws from the corner, but it constrains the proportions. If I hold Alt down and shift, then it constrains the proportions, but it draws from the center. And if I just hold the Alt down, it draws from the center, but it doesn't constrain the proportions. So you kind of have to figure out what you want. So I release it, and there it is. Now it does look like it's kind of fuzzy, and that's not really what I want, but that's really not there. If I click off of it, it cleans itself up, and so that black line wasn't really there. But when I have it selected, it kind of shows that black line. Now I can come back here and click one time, and I can come back to the menu, and I can change this color to whatever I want on the fly. So it's not something that I'm stuck with. I can also come to the stroke, and I can put a stroke on it. I can adjust the stroke to however fat I want it, so that might be helpful for you. I can also change the stroke, and we're going to come back to that in a little bit about drawing lines, but I can change the stroke to a dotted line if I wanted to, or a polka dotted line. And we can, let's see, right here they've got square lines. We can change the caps to rounded. So now we have rounded lines, and I probably can't see that very well, so let's change the color to stroke. There we can see that's pretty ugly, but you can at least see it. So I can click here and I see the cap. We can do straight, or we can do curved. We can do a line, whether it's on the outside, completely on the outside, or on just on the border itself, or on the inside. We can also see how it treats the corners. This is right. This is a sharp corner. We can have it basically chamfered or filleted. That's filleted. This is a chamfer. So anyway, that's that. Let's make that another color here so we can see it even a little bit better. There we go. Now, remember, if I click off of it, I can always come back onto it, and I can change that, and I could go to no stroke if I didn't want a stroke. But if I want to flip it, though, now I'm going to have to hit Control T or go to Edit, Transform, and I could go to Transform, Path, Flip horizontally, and now I can get it to go the other direction. Or I can hold the Control T down, which is free transform, and I can rotate it around the way I want it to, or I could stretch it out if I need to fit my use. Okay, so that's that custom shape tool. And kind of akin to that, I'm going to just turn that one off. Okay, to make a dotted line, we could use this, and I told one of my students that use that, but I think there's a better way of doing it now as I research things. I'm going to use a paintbrush. Choose the color, and I could pull a blue line down if I want a straight line. Then I can manipulate it later. But what I'm going to do is make a new layer, and all I have to do is go now into my brush settings. I'm going to use this paintbrush. I'm going to go to Window and Brush, and I have these different settings. And a lot of times with the brush, the smoothing is on. If it's not on, you can turn it on. And then what you want to do is double click on the word smoothing. And if you change the spacing, you can create this dotted line. So it's basically just putting down a circle and putting them really close together, and that's what makes a brush. So kind of depending on what kind of brush you use, I'm going to use a hard edge brush, and I'm going to change the spacing. I could use almost any of these brushes and get different effects, and then I'll go through that in just a minute. But I'll start with the hard edged, the hardness set to 0, just a regular brush, and the spacing will just crank out here a little bit. Now when I go to do that, I can hold the shift key down and click and drag, and by holding the shift key down I'm going to get a straight line. So I could have made that any size I wanted to. I could change the brush size smaller using the brace keys, and changing the spacing will make it either closer or farther apart. Okay, so that's kind of a cool thing. Now if I change the brush, let's say I could get some different effects here. Let's change the spacing again. Here's a little more decorative line, and the one person who asked me said, how can I make it more decorative, when that's, I guess, a good way of doing it. I can change to whatever kind of brush I want, change the spacing, get some different effects. Let's see. Or if I could just want a different kind of a line, I can straight across with no spacing. So there's a variety of different ways you can do that, and you can do this in Photoshop Elements as well. But that's under the brush settings.